Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy my video, please click the like button and share the video. It is the only way the YouTube algorithms really notices me. I will be very grateful to you. Why you won't believe what happens when it rains. Scary story published by Scare Fiction. The air crackled with tension as dark clouds gathered on the horizon, casting an ominous shadow over the small town of Willow Creek. People hurried along the streets, their faces etched with concern as they prepared for the impending storm. But amidst the hustle and bustle, one figure stood out from the rest, Alex. As I walked through the town square, my steps quickened with each passing moment. I pulled my jacket tighter around me, trying to ward off the chill that seemed to seep into my bones. The sky above churned with swirling clouds, an angry mass of gray and black that seemed to swallow up the sun. I scoffed at the sight, shaking my head in disbelief. Superstitions about rain, ridiculous. I'd always been a skeptic when it came to things like that. Growing up, my parents had filled my head with tales of old wives' tales and ghost stories, but I'd never bought into any of it. Rain was just rain, nothing more, nothing less. But as I made my way through the town, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that hung in the air. It was as if the very atmosphere itself was charged with a sense of foreboding, like something dark and sinister lurked just beyond the edge of perception. I glanced up at the sky again, frowning as I watched the clouds grow darker by the minute. There was something unnatural about the way they swirled and shifted, as if they were alive, pulsing with an energy that sent shivers down my spine. I quickened my pace, eager to get home before the storm hit in earnest. But as I turned the corner onto my street, I was greeted by an unsettling sight. My neighbor's cat, usually skittish and shy, sat perched on the edge of the sidewalk, its fur bristling and its eyes wide with fear. I frowned, kneeling down to offer the cat a comforting pat. But as my hand drew near, the cat let out a hiss of warning, its tail lashing back and forth in agitation. I pulled back, startled by the sudden display of aggression. "What's gotten into you?" I muttered, watching as the cat darted away into the safety of the nearby bushes. But even as I spoke, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I stood up, brushing off my knees as I continued on my way. But with each step, the feeling of unease grew stronger until it was like a weight pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I reached my front door and fumbled for my keys, my hands trembling as I tried to unlock the door. But before I could turn the key in the lock, a sudden gust of wind sent the door flying open, nearly knocking me off my feet. I stumbled backwards, my heart racing as I stared into the darkness beyond the threshold. And then, from somewhere deep within the bowels of the storm, I heard it, a low, guttural growl that sent chills down my spine. I took a step back, my mind racing as I tried to make sense of what was happening. But before I could react, a bolt of lightning split the sky, illuminating the street with an eerie blue light. And in that brief moment of illumination, I saw it, a figure standing at the edge of the darkness, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. I stumbled backwards, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps as I backed away from the creature. But even as I retreated, I knew that there was no escaping the storm that was about to consume us all. Chapter 2: The Haunted House. The rain pounded against the windows of the old, abandoned house, its rhythmic patter echoing through the empty halls like a mournful lament. I stood in the doorway, hesitating for a moment before stepping over the threshold into the darkness beyond. The interior of the house was shrouded in shadow, the only light coming from the occasional flash of lightning outside. Dust motes danced in the air, swirling in the beam of my flashlight as I ventured further into the gloom. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet, groaning with the weight of years of neglect. Every sound seemed magnified in the silence, sending a shiver down my spine as I explored the deserted rooms. As I moved deeper into the house, the air grew thick with the scent of decay and mildew. It hung heavy in my lungs, making it difficult to breathe as I navigated the labyrinthine corridors. Eerie sounds echoed through the halls, strange whispers and ghostly moans that seemed to come from all directions at once. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease that settled over me like a suffocating cloak, but it clung to me like a second skin, refusing to be shaken. I rounded a corner and stumbled into a room bathed in moonlight, the pale glow casting long, twisted shadows across the walls. But as I scanned the room, my blood ran cold at the sight that greeted me. Standing in the center of the room was a figure, its features obscured by the darkness. It seemed to sway in time with the howling wind outside, its movements jerky and unnatural. I froze in place, my heart pounding in my chest as I watched the figure's every move. Was it a trick of the light, or was there truly something lurking in the shadows? With a suddenness that stole the breath from my lungs, the figure turned to face me, its eyes burning with an otherworldly light. I stumbled backwards, my foot catching on a loose floorboard as I fell to the ground with a crash. Panic surged through me as I scrambled to my feet, my heart racing as I fled from the room and into the darkness beyond. But no matter how fast I ran, the feeling of dread followed me like a shadow, a constant reminder of the horrors that lurked within the haunted house. Outside, the storm raged on, the wind howling like a banshee as it battered against the walls of the old house. But amidst the chaos, a new sound emerged, a low, guttural growl that sent chills racing down my spine. I pressed on, my footsteps echoing in the empty silence as I searched for a way out of the house. But with each passing moment, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense, as if the very walls themselves were closing in around me. And as the storm intensified outside, I knew that I was running out of time. For trapped within the haunted house, there was no escape from the horrors that lurked within its twisted corridors. Chapter 3: Whispers in the Wind. The house seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy as I ventured deeper into its depths, my footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to mock me from the darkness. I pressed on, my heart hammering in my chest as I searched for any sign of escape. But with each passing moment, the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices that seemed to come from all directions at once. I strained to make out the words, but they were muffled and indistinct, like a half-remembered dream. And yet, despite their incomprehensibility, they filled me with a sense of dread that threatened to consume me whole. I stumbled into a room bathed in flickering candlelight, the flames casting eerie shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the scent of old wax and decay, making it difficult to breathe as I searched for the source of the whispers. But as I scanned the room, my blood ran cold at the sight that greeted me. Standing in the center of the room was a figure, its features obscured by the darkness. It seemed to sway in time with the howling wind outside, its movements jerky and unnatural. I tried to speak, to demand answers from the mysterious figure, but no words escaped my lips. Instead, I could only stand frozen in place, my heart pounding in my chest as I waited for the figure to reveal its intentions. And then, with a suddenness that stole the breath from my lungs, the figure spoke. Its voice was low and guttural, like the sound of gravel being ground beneath a boot. "Welcome, Alex," it said, its words sending shivers racing down my spine. "Welcome to your new home." I tried to protest, to deny the figure's words, but it was no use. The sense of dread that hung in the air was too overpowering, too suffocating to be ignored. I stumbled backwards, my footsteps echoing in the empty silence as I fled from the room and into the darkness beyond. But no matter how fast I ran, the whispers followed me like a relentless tide, their words growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. I pressed on, my heart racing as I searched for a way out of the house. But with each passing moment, the shadows seemed to close in around me, their tendrils reaching out to ensnare me in their grasp. And as the storm raged on outside, I knew that I was running out of time. For trapped within the haunted house, there was no escape from the whispers in the wind, no escape from the dark secrets and forgotten sins that lurked within its twisted corridors. Chapter 4: Voices of the Past. The old house seemed to creak and groan with the weight of its secrets as I continued my exploration, my fingers trailing along the dusty walls. Every corner held a new mystery, a new piece of the puzzle waiting to be uncovered. I stumbled upon a small study tucked away at the end of a narrow hallway, its door barely hanging on its hinges. As I stepped inside, my eyes fell upon a desk covered in a thick layer of dust, upon which lay a stack of old journals and letters. My curiosity piqued. I reached out and picked up one of the journals, its pages yellowed with age and brittle to the touch. As I flipped through the entries, I felt a chill run down my spine at the words that stared back at me. The journals spoke of a family torn apart by tragedy, of a love lost and a life destroyed. They detailed the descent into madness of the house's former inhabitants, their words filled with a desperation that sent shivers racing down my spine. But it was the letters that truly sent a shiver down my spine. They spoke of dark rituals and forbidden knowledge, of a pact made with forces beyond human comprehension. And as I read on, I felt a creeping sense of unease settle over me like a suffocating cloak. But it was not just the words themselves that filled me with dread. It was the voices of the past that seemed to echo through the walls, their whispers growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. I tried to block them out, to focus on the task at hand, but it was no use. The voices seemed to seep into my very soul, filling me with a sense of despair that threatened to consume me whole. I stumbled out of the study, my heart pounding in my chest as I tried to make sense of what I had just read. But the more I tried to distance myself from the house's dark history, the more I found myself drawn back into its grasp. I became consumed by the voices of the past, unable to escape their relentless grip. They followed me wherever I went, their whispers growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. And as the storm raged on outside, I knew that I was running out of time. For trapped within the haunted house, there was no escape from the voices of the past, no escape from the darkness that lurked within its twisted corridors. Chapter 5: A Torrent of Memories. As I wandered through the darkened corridors of the haunted house, memories from my own past began to surface, intertwining with the haunting tales of its former inhabitants. Images flashed before my eyes, fragments of a life long forgotten. I remembered the laughter of childhood summers, the warmth of my mother's embrace, and the safety of my father's presence. But beneath the surface, there lurked darker memories of loss and betrayal, of broken promises and shattered dreams. Guilt and regret flooded my mind like a tidal wave, threatening to drown me in their suffocating embrace. I remembered the choices I had made, the mistakes I had committed, and the people I had hurt along the way. But it was the secrets that haunted me the most, the secrets I had buried deep within my heart, hoping they would never see the light of day. But now, as I stood on the threshold of the haunted house, they rose to the surface like specters from the past, demanding to be heard. The storm raged on outside, its fury matching the turmoil within my soul. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, echoing the tumult of emotions that churned within me. I sank to my knees, tears mingling with the rain as I confronted the demons of my past. I cried out in anguish, begging for forgiveness for the sins I had committed, but there was no one there to answer my pleas. And as the storm raged on, I knew that I could no longer run from the memories that haunted me, for they were a part of me, woven into the very fabric of my being, and no amount of denial could erase their presence. I rose to my feet, a newfound determination burning within me. I would face my past head on, confront the ghosts that haunted me, and emerge from the darkness stronger than before. With that thought in mind, I pressed on, my footsteps steady as I navigated the twisted corridors of the haunted house. And as the storm continued to rage outside, I knew that I was one step closer to finding the answers I sought. Chapter 6: The Ghostly Visitor. As I wandered deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the haunted house, a chill ran down my spine at the thought of what horrors awaited me. The air grew colder with each step, thick with the weight of centuries-old secrets and long-forgotten sins. And then, as if summoned by the darkness itself, a ghostly figure appeared before me. Its form was translucent and ethereal, its features twisted in an expression of eternal anguish. It beckoned to me with a skeletal hand, its voice a haunting whisper on the wind. I recoiled in fear, my heart pounding in my chest as I stared at the apparition before me. But despite my terror, I felt an inexplicable pull, a magnetic force drawing me closer to the ghostly figure. Desperate for answers, I followed the apparition deeper into the house, my footsteps echoing in the empty silence. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to reach out to me with grasping fingers. The ghost led me down a narrow staircase, its steps creaking beneath my weight as we descended into the bowels of the house. The air grew thick with the scent of decay and rot, making it difficult to breathe as we reached the bottom of the stairs. And there, hidden away in the darkness, lay a hidden room, a chamber of secrets that had remained untouched for centuries. I stepped inside, my eyes widening in awe as I took in the sight before me. The walls were lined with shelves filled with dusty tomes and ancient artifacts, each one holding a piece of the house's dark history. I reached out and picked up a tattered journal, its pages yellowed with age and brittle to the touch. As I flipped through the entries, I felt a chill run down my spine at the words that stared back at me. They spoke of a curse that had plagued the house for generations, a curse born of greed and betrayal. And at the center of it all was the ghostly figure before me, the restless spirit of a woman wronged, doomed to wander the halls of the haunted house for all eternity. I turned to the apparition, my voice barely a whisper as I spoke. "What do you want from me?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. The ghostly figure reached out to me, its hand passing through mine like smoke. And then, with a voice like wind through the trees, it spoke. "Redemption," it said, its words echoing in the empty silence. "Release me from this curse and free yourself from the darkness that binds you." I hesitated for a moment, torn between fear and curiosity. But then, with a newfound resolve, I made my decision. I would confront the curse head-on, break the chains that bound the house to its dark past, and emerge from the darkness stronger than before. And with the ghostly figure by my side, I knew that I was not alone in my quest for redemption. Chapter 7: The Curse Unleashed. The truth hit me like a freight train as I stood in the hidden room, the ghostly figure hovering before me with an otherworldly glow. It spoke in hushed tones, revealing the dark history of the house and the curse that had plagued it for generations. I learned that the house was cursed, condemned to forever trap those who sought refuge within its walls. The spirits of its former inhabitants lingered, unable to find peace in the afterlife, their restless souls bound to the house by the curse's malevolent power. As the storm raged on outside, I realized with a sinking feeling in my gut that the curse was growing stronger by the minute. The torrential rain served as a catalyst for its power, unleashing malevolent forces upon the town that threatened to consume us all. With time running out, I knew that I had to find a way to break the curse before it was too late. But the task seemed insurmountable, the weight of centuries of darkness pressing down on my shoulders like a leaden blanket. I turned to the ghostly figure before me, desperation burning in my eyes as I pleaded for answers. But it merely shook its head, its features obscured by the shifting shadows. "There is but one way to break the curse," it whispered, its voice echoing in the darkness. "You must find the source of the curse and destroy it, or else doom us all to an eternity of torment." I nodded, steeling myself for the task ahead. I knew that it would not be easy, that I would face countless obstacles and challenges along the way. But I also knew that I could not turn away, that the fate of the town rested in my hands. With a newfound determination burning in my heart, I set out into the storm, the wind howling like a banshee as I navigated the twisted streets of Willow Creek. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, illuminating the path ahead as I searched for the source of the curse. And then, with a suddenness that stole the breath from my lungs, I found it, a dark, shadowy figure lurking in the heart of the storm. It seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, its eyes burning with an otherworldly light. I knew that this was the source of the curse, the key to breaking the chains that bound the haunted house and its restless spirits. With a cry of defiance, I launched myself forward, my fists clenched with determination, as I prepared to do battle with the forces of darkness. The storm raged on around me, but I paid it no mind, for I knew that with each passing moment, I drew closer to victory, closer to breaking the curse and freeing the town from its grip. And as the final blow fell, shattering the darkness and banishing the curse once and for all, I felt a sense of peace wash over me like a warm embrace. For in that moment, I knew that I had succeeded, that I had saved Willow Creek from a fate worse than death. Chapter 8. Into the Heart of Darkness. Armed with the knowledge of the curse's source, I ventured deeper into the bowels of the haunted house, steeling myself for the horrors that awaited. Each step I took echoed through the empty corridors, a solemn reminder of the task that lay ahead. The air grew thick with anticipation as I entered each new room, the darkness within seeming to swallow me whole. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to leer at me from the darkness. But I pressed on, my resolve unwavering as I confronted the house's darkest secrets head-on. Each room held its own horrors, testing my courage and resolve in ways I could never have imagined. In one room, I stumbled upon a collection of twisted dolls, their glassy eyes staring blankly ahead as if they held the secrets of the universe within their porcelain forms. In another, I found a mirror that seemed to reflect not my own image, but that of a twisted, monstrous version of myself. But it was the final room that held the true horror. As I stepped over the threshold, a wave of darkness washed over me, threatening to swallow me whole. I stood at the center of the room, surrounded by the oppressive weight of centuries of darkness. The walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if they were alive and watching my every move. And then, with a deafening roar, the storm reached its peak, unleashing chaos upon the town as the curse tightened its grip. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, shaking the very foundations of the house as if it were alive with rage. But I refused to be cowed by the storm's fury. With a cry of defiance, I raised my voice above the chaos, confronting the source of the curse with every ounce of strength I possessed. And then, with a blinding flash of light, the curse was broken, banished to the depths of the abyss where it belonged. The storm began to recede, its fury spent as the clouds parted to reveal the first glimmer of dawn on the horizon. I emerged from the depths of the haunted house, battered and bruised but victorious. town lay before me, its streets battered and broken, but free from the grip of darkness that had threatened to consume it. As I watched the sun rise above the horizon, a sense of peace washed over me like a warm embrace. For in that moment, I knew that I had triumphed over the darkness, proving that even in the face of unimaginable horror, hope would always prevail. Chapter 9. The Final Confrontation. As I stood before the source of the curse, a vengeful spirit emerged from the shadows, its form twisted and contorted with rage. Its eyes burned with an otherworldly light, fixated on me with a hatred that sent chills racing down my spine. I squared my shoulders, steeling myself for the battle that lay ahead. The tension in the room was palpable, a thick fog of fear and anticipation that hung in the air like a suffocating cloak. The spirit spoke in a voice that echoed with the weight of centuries, its words dripping with malice and contempt. It accused me of trespassing on its domain, of daring to challenge its authority in the realm of the living. But I refused to back down, meeting its gaze with a steely resolve. I knew that I was the only one who could stop it, the only one who could banish the darkness that threatened to consume the town. With a cry of defiance, I launched myself forward, my fists clenched with determination as I prepared to do battle with the malevolent entity. The spirit met my charge head-on, its form shifting and swirling like smoke in the wind. A tense showdown ensued, the air crackling with the energy of our clash. Lightning flashed, and thunder crashed outside, mirroring the turmoil within as we fought for control of the room. But despite my best efforts, the spirit proved to be a formidable opponent. It seemed to anticipate my every move, countering with a strength and agility that took me by surprise. I stumbled backwards, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps as I struggled to keep pace with the spirit's relentless assault. But with each passing moment, my strength waned, the weight of the curse bearing down on me like a leaden weight. And then, with a suddenness that stole the breath from my lungs, I saw it, a glimmer of light shining through the darkness, a beacon of hope amidst the despair. With renewed determination, I pressed on, my movements fueled by the fire of defiance burning within me. I dodged and weaved, ducking under the spirit's attacks as I made my way towards the source of the light. And then, with a final, desperate lunge, I reached out and grasped the light in my hands. It pulsed with a warm, comforting energy, banishing the darkness and driving the spirit back with a deafening roar. With a cry of triumph, I unleashed the power of the light, sending the spirit fleeing into the shadows from whence it came. And as the last echoes of its rage faded into silence, I knew that I had emerged victorious, the curse broken once and for all. I collapsed to my knees, exhaustion washing over me like a tidal wave as I watched the sun rise above the horizon. The storm had passed, its fury spent as the town emerged from the darkness into the light of a new day. And as I stood amidst the wreckage of the haunted house, I knew that I had finally found peace, the shadows of the past banished forever by the light of hope. Chapter 10. Redemption in the Rain. Exhausted but triumphant, I surveyed the aftermath of the final confrontation. The air crackled with residual energy, a palpable reminder of the battle that had taken place within the haunted house. But amidst the chaos, there was also a sense of peace, a peace that I had fought so hard to achieve. Through sheer determination and bravery, I had managed to break the curse and free the trapped souls within the house. It had been a harrowing journey, filled with danger and despair, but in the end, it had all been worth it. As the storm began to subside, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders, a sense of relief washing over me like a warm embrace. The rain continued to fall, but now it felt cleansing, purifying the town of the darkness that had once plagued it. I emerged from the ordeal forever changed, my skepticism replaced by a newfound respect for the power of the supernatural. I had witnessed things that defied explanation, faced horrors that I had never thought possible, and emerged from the darkness stronger than before. But amidst the sense of victory, there was also a lingering sadness, a sadness for the lives that had been lost, for the suffering that had been endured. I vowed to honor their memory, to ensure that their sacrifices had not been in vain. As I made my way through the town, I was greeted by the sight of my neighbors emerging from their homes, their faces etched with relief and gratitude. We embraced in the rain, united by the shared experience of facing our fears and emerging victorious. And as the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm golden light over the town, I knew that a new day had dawned. The darkness had been banished, replaced by a sense of hope and renewal that would carry us forward into the future. I looked up at the sky, feeling the first rays of sunlight on my face, and smiled. For in that moment, I knew that I had found redemption in the rain, and that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with courage and resolve. And as I walked through the streets of Willow Creek, hand in hand with my neighbors, I knew that together we could overcome anything, even the darkest of curses. Chapter 11. Aftermath. The aftermath of the storm brought both relief and sorrow to the town of Willow Creek. As the residents began to rebuild their homes and their lives, scars from the ordeal remained etched into the very fabric of the community. But amidst the wreckage, there was also a sense of resilience, a determination to rise above the darkness and rebuild stronger than before. I walked through the streets of the town, surveying the damage wrought by the curse and the storm. Broken windows and fallen debris littered the sidewalks, while the distant sound of hammers and saws echoed through the air as people worked tirelessly to repair what had been broken. But despite the physical damage, it was the emotional scars that lingered longest in the hearts of the townspeople. Many had lost loved ones in the chaos, their grief a heavy burden that weighed heavily on their shoulders. Others struggled to come to terms with the horrors they had witnessed, haunted by nightmares that refused to fade with the passing of time. As I walked, I couldn't help but reflect on my own journey, the trials and tribulations that had brought me to this moment. I had faced unimaginable horrors, confronted my deepest fears, and emerged from the darkness, stronger and wiser than before. I thought back to the haunted house, to the battles fought within its twisted corridors, and felt a sense of pride swell within me. I had stared into the face of evil and refused to back down, standing firm in the face of adversity and emerging victorious. But amidst the sense of accomplishment, there was also a sense of humility, a recognition of the fragility of life and the fleeting nature of existence. I had come perilously close to losing everything, to succumbing to the darkness that lurked within the shadows. But through sheer determination and strength of will, I had persevered, emerging from the ordeal battered but unbowed. And as I looked out over the town, I felt a sense of gratitude wash over me, like a warm embrace. Despite the horrors we had faced, we had come together as a community, united by a common purpose and a shared sense of purpose. I knew that the road ahead would not be easy, that there would be challenges and obstacles to overcome. But I also knew that we would face them together, drawing strength from one another and the bonds that bound us as a community. And as I watched the sun set over the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the town, I felt a sense of peace settle over me like a comforting blanket. For in that moment, I knew that no matter what trials lay ahead, we would face them with courage and resolve, knowing that we had already overcome the darkest of curses and emerged stronger on the other side. Chapter 12. The Calm After the Storm. With the curse lifted and the storm finally passed, a sense of peace settled over the town of Willow Creek like a gentle breeze. The streets, once ravaged by chaos and darkness, now lay bathed in the warm glow of the morning sun, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. I stood before the haunted house one last time, the memories of the harrowing ordeal still fresh in my mind. But as I looked upon its weathered facade, I felt a sense of closure wash over me like a cleansing tide. It was time to bid farewell to the darkness of the past and embrace the promise of a brighter future. With a final glance over my shoulder, I turned away from the house, my footsteps light and purposeful as I walked away from the shadows that had once threatened to consume me whole. As I walked, the sun broke through the clouds overhead, casting a warm glow over the town and signaling the dawn of a new beginning. The air was filled with the sweet scent of freshly fallen rain, a reminder of the cleansing power of nature and the hope it brought with it. I passed by familiar landmarks, the town square, the old oak tree where I had played as a child, the quaint shops and cafes that lined the streets, each one a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As I walked, I felt a sense of gratitude well up within me, gratitude for the friends and neighbors who had stood by my side through the darkest of times, and gratitude for the strength and courage that had carried me through the storm. As I looked out over the town, I knew that the scars of the ordeal would never truly fade. But I also knew that we were stronger for having faced them together, united in our determination to rebuild and move forward, no matter what challenges lay ahead. With each step, I felt a sense of peace settle over me, a sense of calm born from the knowledge that we had emerged from the darkness stronger and wiser than before. And as I walked into the embrace of the morning sun, I knew that the future held endless possibilities, filled with hope and promise for the days to come.